The news doesn't end here. Here's what's coming up on WCNC Plus. Transportation, taxes, and the future of Mecklenburg County in the spotlight tonight.
My constituents are not okay with it.
Coming up, an opportunity for South Mecklenburg County neighbors to learn more about the 1% sales tax and hear from all sides of the issue.
Plus, it's been 1 week since a 4-year-old was shot and killed while sleeping in his bed.
It's unimaginable, and my family should not be going through this.
How his family says they'll do whatever it takes to keep his memory alive.
And we are live in Boone this morning, continuing coverage of the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene. This morning, we're getting a better idea of when Lake Lure might just reopen.
One Avery County man tells us about his decision to accept an offer from a neighbor that may have saved his life and one of his neighbors.
And when Hurricane Helene rolled through, surgeries across the country were shut down.
How workers fought to get life-saving supplies back to hospitals. Those stories and much more live, local, and breaking news coming up on WCNC Plus.
All right, this is I-485 out towards W.T. Harris Boulevard, where you can see cars are moving incredibly slowly. There is an accident there. An additional lane is closed on I-85 southbound because of a fallen tree. That's at Hope Road. So more on that coming up on WCNC Plus.
Oof, you're never going to see that, and we are anticipating more storms later on this morning, so that is going to be some slick roads, especially since it's been so dry. After that, on and off rain through the weekend, much cooler certainly by Saturday, Sunday.
Join us on WCNC Plus starting at 7 o'clock.
Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us on WCNC Plus at 7. I'm Megan Bragg.
And I'm Lisa Washington. This week, we are continuing our coverage marking the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene in western North Carolina. Our Ben Thompson is live in Boone this morning, his second day there. And Ben, I know you've spent some time in this area. It's good to see it getting back to life. A lot of progress has been made.
A lot of progress has been made, and we can't celebrate that enough, while at the same time calling attention to the work that still needs to be done, because these folks, they cannot do it on their own. For some indication, I'm live here in downtown Boone, Kid Brewers Stadium. For all the Mountaineers out there, just off to the right of me, downtown behind me, Mass General over to the left. And coming up this morning here on WCNC Plus, we're going to have a few different angles of the Helene story that we want to bring to you, including a fisherman who made a last-minute decision a year ago that might have saved quite a few lives. Lisa, that's coming up.
All right, Ben, sounds good. We'll be checking in with you throughout the morning here on WCNC Plus. Right now, though, we need to take a look at the roads in the Queen City. You can see slow down there. I believe this is I-485, Majestic said, near Mallard Creek. Is that right, Majestic? We're going to check in with her to find out more about traffic. A few delays this morning. And we are expecting some storms later today. Chris is going to have more on the WCNC weather impact forecast.
All right, let's do this. For one, it is a warm start to the day. 74 degrees right now around Charlotte, 72 for you in Monroe, and then 67 degrees around Lincolnton. And this is a much warmer start compared to what we had just a day ago. A 4-degree bump around Morganton and Boone, 6 degrees warmer for you in Charlotte. 11-degree warm up for the Wadesboro and Anson County area, but we are also anticipating a little bit of rain. Now, we did have some light to moderate rain showers, mainly pushed through the mountains and the foothills. Now, it's this next band of rain, mainly gliding along this line, that we can anticipate really over the next 3 hours or so. So I think it's between about 9 and noon that we're going to have the best potential for this. But in the near term, just some very, very light rain, maybe a sprinkle around the Charlotte area. So we are going weather alert because of this, because that low chance for a severe thunderstorm. We don't really have the right environment. I'm going to be honest with you. There's not a lot of instability with this that I'm super worried about us having a bunch of severe thunderstorm warnings associated with this. If we got a little bit more sunshine, peak instability, this happened mid to late afternoon, I would be. But this rain, when it rolls through mid to late morning, I think it's really going to suppress our rain chances later on. But I would say I think our best periods and our best chances for showers and storms would be 9 to noon, so 9 a.m. to noon, and 9 p.m. to midnight. So coincidentally, the same numbers, just different AM to PM. So isolated storms will be the main jazz for this weather alert day. Now, our rain chances are coming with a big asterisk because it's been 17 days since we've actually had a measurable rainfall. Picked up about a ½ inch 17 days ago around Charlotte. So what happens is all that oil and debris from these cars is sitting on the roads. When we have a quick downpour later on this morning, it might not be a lot of rain. It's actually going to make the roads 2 to 3 times slicker. So please be safe. Last time I saw this in earlier June, it was about I think 9 to 12 incidents reported across the Charlotte area in about a 15-minute time frame because of how slick it was. So please be safe. Temperatures right around the mid to the upper 80s for the highs a little bit later on because we will see some sunshine. 9 to about noon across the I-77 corridors where we're pushing the rain. And the good news is I think a lot of this is going to be weakening. As I mentioned, it's not really a super unstable environment. This is not the best storm chance I've ever seen, but since the Storm Prediction Center does have us under a low threshold, we will mention it. And then for the afternoon, I think you have an isolated chance for a storm. I'm not going to discount that. Picking up some sunshine on and off throughout the day, and then that's going to juice up the atmosphere a little bit more heading into the evening for round 2 potentially, just depending where you are. More so in the mountains and the I-40 corridor is where we're going to have that better chance. Heading into your Friday morning, we will have some lingering showers, but it doesn't look as much as otherwise was looking yesterday. Highs in the mid to the upper 80s today. It's cloudy as well. Temperatures starting very mild. Now, one thing that is working in the storm's favor, it is super muggy out there, and we're going to remain muggy status today and tomorrow, keeping our rain chances a little bit elevated, and as I mentioned, better chance for a little bit of sunshine middle of the afternoon. Now, I think our best chance for rain, the most periods of rain will be on Saturday, and I'm going to show you that right now. Friday, on and off showers, more rain east and west of Charlotte, but then later on Friday evening and the overnight, we're talking about hours of rain. So I think it could rain up to about 2 to 4 hours, really at either side of midnight heading into the early morning hours. So it could feel kind of crummy starting off your Saturday. There are still going to be some dry periods, but then you just have those constant pulses of rain anywhere from 2 to 4 hours on and off throughout the day. A slight chance for a little bit of sunshine to end your Saturday before yet again more showers and rain are going to start to roll in. Outside of Saturday, we have a big question mark because today stands out from all the rest, not just because you have a thunderstorm chance, but it's also the hottest day. Yesterday was a 91. I think we can put the 90s in the rearview mirror now. But our 7-day forecast brought to us by Jerry Hunt Super Center shows a much cooler downtrend, lower to the mid-70s into next week. That could be associated with some clouds and rain locked into our area with 2 tropical systems right off the shoreline. I'm going to spend the next time I'm talking about weather in detail, showing you what those potentially could do. We already formed Umberto officially yesterday, and Imelda is coming. But what is also coming is our morning traffic report from Majestic. What's going on?
Good morning, everyone. Let's get the day started. We have our typical delays right now, but we also have a handful of ongoing wrecks. I want to take you to something that's really going to be a headache for you this morning. It's on I-485. There's an accident. The crash on the outer loop of I-485 just past Beatty's Ford Road is really causing some major delays. You can see all of that red right there. Here's a live camera look coming in straight from that area. Notice all 3 lanes are either stopped or moving very, very slowly. A lot of those cars are trying to get off of that. Right now, it is just going to be jam-packed, and those delays are really, really getting heavy at times. What we're watching for just to the west is this. This is on I-85. A lane is closed because a tree fell, impacting southbound lanes at exit 20. That's New Hope Road. So we're seeing those delays on I-85, both inbound and outbound. And then this has been ongoing all morning long and will continue to be a problem all the way until 1 o'clock this afternoon. This is out in Marshville, out in Union County. This right here is Highway 74. Westbound lanes are going to be blocked because there was an accident. A car ran into some power lines, and now crews are out there restoring them.
Majestic, thanks so much. This morning, we continue to mark the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene. As that storm rolled in, thousands of people were faced with an impossible decision, whether or not to leave their homes and belongings or get to safety. Ben Thompson joins us again live this morning from Boone, where we continue, Ben, to hear just those amazing stories of survival.
You know, Lisa, it strikes me that none of us know exactly how we're going to react in that sort of circumstance when we're having to make those sorts of last-minute decisions when facing a crisis like Helene. And as communities across the mountains reflect on the year that's been, some survivors say they're still rebuilding, and others are still very much counting their blessings. Over in Avery County, one man believes a last-minute decision during the storm made the difference between life and death for him and his neighbor. My colleague, WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane, now live right now in Blowing Rock with more on their story. Richard.
Yeah, Ben, good morning to you. Good morning, Lisa and Megan. Good morning to everyone out there. Good Thursday morning, folks. This is a story about just neighbors being neighborly, offering help, a storm coming in, and one neighbor called another and said, hey, why don't you come up here and ride it out? John Randall, who lives in nearby Avery County, said, no, I'll be all right. But then John and a friend of his, another neighbor, Phyllis, took him up on that offer, and they say that probably saved their lives. Now, as we look at video, we can tell you 1 year after Helene tore through the high country, causing a lot of damage and destruction, John Randall is still looking at what happened and calling himself blessed. He's looking at the damage left behind by Helene. His home was battered after those floodwaters swept through his home, causing more than $100,000 in damage. Floodwaters left behind mud and debris inside the home. Much of what was inside on the lower floors damaged or destroyed altogether. Randall is one of dozens in Avery County still dealing with the financial and emotional toll of last year's storm. But he says he feels fortunate that he and his neighbor Phyllis accepted a friend's offer to ride out the storm up in the mountains. That choice may have spared their lives, he says. Now he continues his repairs. He says he's also grateful to be here even as the reminder of Helene remain.
People still, I get emotional. There was a family that was standing there, and the wife and mother got washed in, and they saw her carried away. And when I woke up Christmas morning, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I started crying because I was thinking about the children, that all these kids, wanting gifts and stuff at Christmas, they would have loved to have their mom back.
Yeah, the true meaning of being thankful. Randall says while his house was damaged, his friend's house really gutted, and other people lost everything in the storm. He says those people who are still here should be very thankful that they're still alive. We're right here in Blowing Rock. This is Richard Vang. I'll send it back to you.
That's right, Richard, because keep in mind, more than 100 people, I think 108 was the last number, died here in North Carolina during the storm. Important perspective that we all have this week for sure. Richard, thank you. All right, 7-11, we're going to continue our coverage here of Helene up in Boone coming up in just a few minutes. Now, back to the team in the studio.
All right, Ben, thanks so much. Coming up on WCNC Plus, a controversial mugshot leads to a settlement, what it could mean for the future arrests in Mecklenburg County.
Time now 7:14. Breaking this morning, police are now searching for the person who shot a medical ambulance just hours ago. Medic says it happened while they were transporting a patient near Davidson and Trade Street. That's in Uptown. No one was hurt and the patient made it to the hospital for an unrelated illness. Right now, no word yet on who shot the unit or if police have any suspects.
7:14 now, an update this morning from the woman at the center of a controversial mugshot here in Mecklenburg County. Layla El Ali was told to take off her hijab during a booking photo last year. The Council on American Islamic Relations says that violated her religious rights. They have since reached a settlement with the Mecklenburg County Detention Center and the Sheriff's Office. WCNC Charlotte's Bria Smith spoke with El Ali about what this settlement means.
Layla El Ali tells me 1 year ago she was targeted after a Charlotte City Council meeting as a Palestinian female organizer. She was then arrested and told to remove her hijab.
It was known that I was there. Police presence were there. They know me from the protests and the organizing that we've done. And it was a deliberate target and attack on me as a Palestinian female organizer and as a Muslim in this city.
El Ali recounted what that day felt like for her.
I initially walked in fully covered. Everybody knew that I was Muslim. Everybody knew that I wore hijab. It felt like I was paraded like an animal with my scarf on and then forcefully removed of it in public in front of everyone for my booking photo.
CARE, the nation's largest Muslim civil rights and advocacy organization, announced a settlement with the Mecklenburg County Detention Center and Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office on behalf of El Ali.
This was actually a situation where I did not even speak at the city council meeting. I've organized our community to go out to this meeting whenever there was a public forum. However, this time it was really nice to sit back and watch my community members find their voice in advocating for their community, for their family, and how, you know, we are directly affected here in Charlotte watching the genocide take place in Palestine.
A part of the settlement includes policy changes ensuring Muslim women can maintain their religious head coverings during booking photos and throughout detention.
For me, the policy change was something that should have been in place. It's my constitutional right, liberty to religion, and I have religious liberties, and it was stripped from me. It was taken from me.
A press conference to announce more on that settlement will take place here at the Government Center Friday at noon. In Uptown, Bria Smith, WCNC Charlotte.
Vice President J.D. Vance wrapping up a visit to Concord where he urged Governor Stein to sign Irina's law. Yesterday, Vance spoke on public safety following the murder of Irina Zurutska on the Charlotte light rail. The vice president blamed soft on crime policies and criticized the court system, which released a stabbing suspect.
But could there be more? There could always be more. But don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. This bill is going to make North Carolinians safer. They ought to sign it.
Vice President Vance added the White House would love to send the National Guard to help if local leaders ask for it.
And coming up here on WCNC Plus in just a couple minutes, we're going to go back out live to Boone for a look at recovery from Helene 1 year later. We're back in just 2 minutes.
.20 right now here on WCNC Plus. We're live from Boone all week long, and a year after Hurricane Helene, scars and memories from the rising floodwaters and the fierce winds still haunt the folks who live about 20 miles from where I'm sitting right now, up in Cove Creek. One neighbor we spoke to, Laura Ann Campbell, says her land has been totally reshaped with fencing, grading, fresh grass, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done there. Many, like Campbell, who had 4 mudslides on her property, are still waiting on funding, repairs, and relief.
They were supposed to help clean that up, repair that, and then that's just not going to happen because federal funding is not coming.
As you see, my creek banks are broke off. We need them to be able to appropriate money for that and get our creek banks to where they won't wash away anymore.
Neighbors we spoke with say those funds are crucial, not just to finish projects, but also to give them a peace of mind, which makes sense. Over in McDowell County, the town of Old Fort remains in a very similar spot. Emergency Services Director there, Will Keller, says it was devastating to see the town nearly washed away. Water levels reached up to 14 feet, leaving folks with no power, no water, no sewer, no cell. Nearly a year later, the mud is dried, but those memories are still fresh.
I've lived here all my life and worked in McDowell County my entire career. And it was so emotional just seeing the devastation.
Right now, roads and water lines are being repaired, homes rebuilt, businesses reopened. The emergency director says he's confident his community is going to come back stronger than ever when all those things come together. And we're going to continue to tell these stories here in Western North Carolina all week long. You're going to see stories of survival like you've seen. We're going to check on the progress that's being made and the work that still needs to be done. All that coming up throughout the week here on WCNC Plus and over on WCNC Charlotte. And plenty of more to come here on WCNC Plus. In less than 10 minutes, we're going to be tracking the progress down at Lake Lure as it pushes to reopen its namesake, the lake itself, and its biggest tourist attraction. That's coming up in just a few minutes. But now back to Chris there in the studio. Chris, had heavy rain here in the mountains last night, a bit lighter rain this morning, and so far right now it's much better.
Yeah, and you should be in that nice little sweet spot for the time being. So that's what I'm talking about. But more rain is on the way, and this one will impact Charlotte. So I want to talk about the tropics first. First off, by the way, today is September 25th. September 25th, 2024 is the date that Helene officially became a hurricane. It rapidly intensified, and then 2 days later, we know the rest of the story. Tropical storm Umberto officially formed yesterday. The most recent update, the 5 a.m. advisory, has this cone of uncertainty certainly going off towards the north and west. Now, it does indicate, this one we have a pretty good grasp on what it's going to do. It starts heading towards the United States, and then it's going to bend back out to sea. What's really throwing things off is Invest 94L, soon about to be Imelda. The biggest question mark here is how fast the system is going to develop, A, and B, how fast it's going to move. Because it's taking its sweet time right now. Umberto's also slowed down a little bit, because if Umberto speeds up and kind of takes the lead, that's going to control where Imelda goes. But if Imelda decides to pretty much be the front runner, go ahead, well ahead of Umberto, and actually have a better chance of moving directly into the Carolinas. It's something we really have to watch. It was looking like a good shot that Umberto was going to drag Imelda out, and that's still a chance. We're seeing more of the American model that's dragging everything out this general direction. That's why you see everything clustered this way. But you are starting to see more and more of these lines starting to work its way towards the Carolinas. So this is something we have to watch very, very closely. It could happen as early as Monday and as late as around Wednesday to Thursday. I know that doesn't really give a good time frame, but that's why when I've been showing you the extended forecast, you got to know a lot can change. So one more look at some of our model comparisons. The best case scenario would be Model 1, because that has the two storm systems kind of right next to each other within 600 miles, and then eventually one veers off. But this model, and this is the biggest change, this literally happened within the 30-minute period earlier this morning. It has as early as 5 p.m. on Monday making landfall, but let's hope that this one moves through. And actually, the most recent update does have a better chance of Imelda trending a little bit further west. After the break, we're going to have a better look at the newest updates that are starting to file in. I'll see you soon. Good morning. Some of us saw some heavy rain earlier this morning. Well, we have more rain on the way. It's over in Asheville right now, but it's picking up the pace, heading its way further off towards the east. So we are going weather alert for today for isolated storm chance, a little bit more scattered by the end of the morning. So I think we have a shot between about 9 and noon for some heavier downpours and also a thunderstorm, and then at about 9 to midnight. So really 2 good shots at a low severe risk. Now, this system does look like it's weakening. I think it's mainly going to be a heavy rain risk, but that also could lead to some incidents. But the road's going to be extra slick since we haven't really seen too much rain recently. And then we'll hit a little bit of a lull in the afternoon before we start to see the return of more scattered showers and thunderstorms, especially around the I-40 corridor. So weather alert for those 2 time periods. Outside of that, more clouds and increased rain chances heading into the weekend. Majestic, take it away.
Lots of accidents out there this morning. I want to let you know about one very important thing for your morning commute. I-485, we have an accident there. It's going to be impacting the outer loop. It's right by Beatty's Ford Road. It's really causing some delays this morning. Traffic is starting to move a little bit better. Just a few minutes ago, all 3 lanes were completely stopped. So we'll keep you up to date with that. A tree actually fell out on I-85 out by it, and it's impacting those southbound lanes. Allow for a few extra minutes this morning.
Thanks for streaming live on WCNC Plus at 7:30 on this Thursday morning. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Megan Bragg. 1 year after Helene, the town of Lake Lure is pushing to reopen its main feature and bring back visitors.
Ben Thompson joining us live this morning from Boone. And Ben, while the town itself is open for business, its namesake lake is still choked with lots of storm debris and unable to open.
That's right. You know, people love Lake Lure, both the town itself and the lake. It made famous, of course, in the 1980s movie Lake Dirty Dancing, where they filmed that movie. But the effort to get things back to normal, it has been a big one. It has been monumental. Our colleague, WCNC Charlotte's Vanessa Rufus, found out why folks there say they finally see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Overlooking Lake Lure's ongoing work zone.
Right here where all the storm debris piles were at, we had to go through each pile, you know, making sure that nobody was in there. Somebody found that American flag.
Signs of persistence amid months of grueling work.
They unfolded it and just stuck it in the ground, and all the workers here have just kind of left it.
And to this day, there are also stark reminders of what the town went through 1 year ago.
So the river was going around this home here. You had storm debris getting piled up in these trees.
Lake Lure Fire Chief Dustin Waycaster says following the initial overwhelming rescue response during Helene,
I've lost count of the number of people that are our guys have helped, and the number of rescues that we've had to perform.
The task of rebuilding that followed has been just as monumental.
One of my favorite things about living in Western North Carolina is I think that folks are, they're real tough people, they're real resilient, and but aside from that is they're good neighbors. You know, they're going to help each other out when it matters.
On the main drag, the constant sound of dump trucks hauling storm debris and silt from the lake has been the soundtrack of the town, day after day, month after month.
They were here early in October and have been here 7 days a week, 12 hours a day since then.
Mayor Carol Pritchett says crews have removed more than 1 million cubic yards of material, bringing them within weeks of a long-awaited milestone, the completion of dredging and the start of bringing the water level back up this spring.
The water would be up to about where we're standing.
As the lake's water is their economy's literal lifeblood.
Our product really here is the lake. It has severely compromised our tourism ability.
Pritchett says they've focused on other draws in the area that can sustain them through the seasons ahead.
But golfing is great here year-round. Okay. The leaves, and to looking at this is like a holiday destination for Thanksgiving and Christmas for people coming, and so we're ready for that too. So.
And while they rebuild the lake,
DEQ and dam safety, and everybody recognizes our infrastructures are 100 years old in this town.
The town is also getting ready for any disasters of the future.
That the water might overtop the dam, and everybody said repeatedly, that won't happen in a million years, but it did. And so I think everybody recognizes now our climate is a little bit different than it used to be.
Waycaster says the town is also upgrading communications equipment to address one of the main issues he says his crews faced during Helene.
We got the mobile Starlinks. We're making improvements in our cell phone coverage and our internet here in town, trying to build it back more resilient.
He says they've put in the work and will be ready to meet the next challenge should it come. A long road back. But Waycaster says the community remains unwavering, as persistent as the symbol of hope rescued from the wreckage of the storm.
There's a brighter day still ahead of us, and we're gonna build this area back. We're gonna do the best that we can for the town and get this community back to the way it was, or better.
Or better. I like that part. Vanessa Rufus reporting for us there. The town hopes to have debris removal at the lake done by the end of next month and then begin refilling the lake, which is going to take a while to get it back to usable levels. By March, it hopes to have enough water for rowing teams to return for spring training. And by May, it's aiming to have at the lake what it calls full pond. That's the appropriate area it needs to be at to have people out there safely. They're hoping to have that by next May, so just in time for summer 2026. Chris?
All right, thanks a lot, Ben. So when I last left you, so these models are constantly updating on their own. I saw an update that I did not like. Now, Tropical Storm Umberto has not been updated for the time being, so let me go through this. This is a really interesting turn of events, and it's really been slowly evolving over the last several hours. This is not absolutely set in stone. There's too many players here. But for one, Tropical Storm Umberto officially formed yesterday. I'm not worried about Umberto. I'm worried about what will soon be Imelda. It's always the I names. Now, Umberto is a tropical storm for the time being. It will likely on Friday night into Saturday become a hurricane, even a major hurricane. It's all about the speed. But notice this, where it is, where the Carolinas is, Monday into Tuesday. Umberto is slowing down. The potential next Invest 94L, or what will soon be Imelda, is not slowing down. It's moving due west at about 14 miles per hour, and it does look like it's starting to turn. But once it gets past Turks and Caicos, the Bahamas, models are now trending this to move faster. And the reason why this is significant, before models were showing Umberto is going to fly up, it's going to be strong enough, it's going to take Imelda by the hurricane hand and drag her out to sea. But if Imelda evolves ahead of Umberto, it's going to get caught up in this upper level low, and it could mean a landfall here in the Carolinas. Now, again, this is Could, but things are trending that direction. Let me show you. So this brings us up to about Sunday at 7 o'clock. Now, the models are all over the place. It's really tough to believe anyone, but you do have a general agreement that it'll be right around the Bahamas by the time you get to about Sunday morning to Sunday evening. It's right after here that you still have a lot of question marks, but we're seeing a lot more of these lines that are now starting to trend in. And I want to show you this update. So these are the model comparisons. I've been showing this most of the morning. I showed it most of yesterday. And Model 1, I literally, if you were just watching, I said, hey, I enjoy Model 1 just because it's the better scenario. Well, the new update is not the good scenario, because watch this. You finally actually have an agreement. Model 2, which by the way is the European model and the GFS, these are long-range models, has Imelda accelerating and making landfall here on Monday late day right around the Myrtle Beach area. But the big change that we saw is that this wave is trending further west per the American model, and it has a landfall a little bit closer to Charleston come Tuesday morning. That's within the same time frame. When we are looking at the long-range data, we want to see some agreement. We want to see a general consensus, and the consensus is showing that Imelda is potentially speeding up and trending further west. Again, this is just model data. We're here on the stream. I want to show you the changes as they come. This is not the forecast, but as a meteorologist, that is not the shift that I wanted to see. This is also trending that since it is heading due to the northwest, would impact us here in the Charlotte area. I've been mentioning over the last few days that the back end, that 7-day forecast, will likely be different depending on what these systems do. And as it's stalling out, that could be some big time flooding. And then you still have Umberto curving back out to sea, pretty much following what Gabrielle did. Hopefully it's going to miss Bermuda. It is looking like that is going to be the case in the scenario. But this is quite the change, really night and day compared to what we just saw. For our future cast, here's an example again. All the rain. We're looking at on and off rain for your Saturday. It dries out a little bit on Sunday as it gets pulled away. This is showing that first model in the blue that you would see really tight circles. By the way, this would represent this again, not trying to alarm, just what the newest models are doing. So you kind of going through my process. This just dropped. I'm kind of processing the data as well. This, what you're looking at right here, would be a potential Hurricane Imelda making landfall here in South Carolina come late Monday. And I want to show you the other model. This is the one that you're starting to see an agreement, and I don't like seeing this. This has a potential Hurricane Imelda making landfall Monday night heading into Tuesday. I'm hoping things shift because they've been all over the place. I was actually making a graphic earlier this morning and everything was being pulled out of the sea. There was no indication of this. And then one model had things trending a little bit further and further west, close to the Carolinas. Now Model 2 is starting to do that. We're going to see. Now, here's the good news. Imelda isn't even a thing yet. It's a complicated 94-L, but there is a chance. I'm just letting you know, there's always a chance. So this is one system that we have to watch for the entirety of the Carolinas, what it does, where it's going. That's the newest information that we have for the time being. I'm going to continue to look into this here on WCNC+. In the meantime, let's get a Majestic for your morning commute.
Good morning, everyone. Let's do it because we do have a handful of ongoing problems this morning. You can see my map here, a lot of icons. Never good news there. Now, we've been talking about 485, the accident there out towards Beatty's Ford Road. As you can see, this has been cleared. Traffic just a little while ago was completely stopped in all three of these lanes, but as you can see, no longer an issue. Now I'm taking you out to Gaston County, I-85 specifically. We have one lane that's closed because of a fallen tree on I-85 southbound at exit 20, that's New Hope Road. But in addition to that, we're also following a crash that's not too far away. That's causing another lane to be blocked because of that crash. I-85 southbound again at exit 23, that's Main Street. So if you're taking I-85, southbound lanes aren't looking good, but also northbound lanes aren't the best either. This may actually have just opened within the last couple of minutes. We've been talking about these delays on Highway 74 as crews were out there restoring some power lines. Earlier, this was all in purple. I mean, I'm talking about 1 to 2 minutes ago, but now we're seeing some yellow right here. So I'll have to take a check on that to see if it is clear. That was out in Union County. One thing to let you know about right here is a Providence Road. We're seeing this accident with some delays in both directions. This is going to be on Providence and Sharon Lane. A crash is causing those delays. I'm not seeing any blocked conditions with those. No blocked roads, just some delays at this point. And then finally, I-77 happen. We have a crash this morning. It's going to be on exit 6A, between exit 6A and exit 5. So allow for some drive time there as well. Lisa.
Majestic, thank you. 7:41 now, and new this morning, a no swim advisory is now in effect at Cricket Cove on Lake Norman. Lincoln County officials say about 100 gallons of raw sewage spilled into the water after a utility crew hit a pressure line Wednesday afternoon. Signs are posted while those water samples are being tested. That advisory will stay in place until bacteria levels meet the safety standards. Coming up, taxes and public transportation, how you can talk to community leaders face to face before November's crucial vote. We're back in 2 minutes on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to WCNC Plus. Today, District 6 residents will hear about transit, taxes, and the future of growth in Mecklenburg County. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live as one Mecklenburg County commissioner is bringing neighbors together to hear the full range of opinions on that proposed 1-cent sales tax for transportation. Destiny, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, people living in southern Mecklenburg County will have the chance to ask questions and hear, quote, the whole story about the tax referendum. And this is from varying perspectives on the issue. Now, on November 4th, that's election day, Mecklenburg County voters will decide whether to raise the sales tax by 1% to fund transportation and transit projects, including road, rail, and bus improvements. Tonight's community meeting, hosted by Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, will feature a presentation from CATS and a panel of community stakeholders with different views. While supporters of the tax increase are stressing the importance of investing in the growth of the county, opposers want to pump the brakes. Rodriguez McDowell herself has been critical of the plan and voted against it in August, saying it puts too much of the cost burden on local taxpayers.
This represents a huge shift away from federal and state funding and pushes the cost onto the backs of people like you and me, 70% of which are living paycheck to paycheck. This is part of a larger pattern that we are seeing at our state and federal level, and my constituents are not okay with it.
The first District 6 community meeting is tonight. It runs from 6 to 7:45 p.m. at Christ the King Church in Charlotte. And the second community meeting is set for October 9th, same time at Matthews Town Hall. Now, this is also the first community meeting hosted by the county since they approved the Transportation Authority, which will make the decision on all of those projects. And we, of course, have more information about these meetings, as well as all of our coverage on the sales tax referendum leading up to Election Day. That's in this story on the WCNC Charlotte News app. I'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
And we'll continue to cover this because a lot of people have some really strong opinions about it. Destiny, thank you. Coming up here on WCNC Plus, a check of your weather impact forecast from meteorologist Chris Mulcahy.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, we're going to get right to it. Now, I was having that self-discovery, the moment of epiphany for the models to agree on what potentially could be happening soon to be Imelda for the Carolinas. I want to talk about the right now, the forecast that's going to affect you in the near term. Well, we have some rain that's heading our way. It's already starting to work its way back into Burke and around the Avery County area. This will continue to push its way further off towards the north and east. So it's this band of showers that's been gliding along this line. I drew this line around 5 a.m. and it looks like it's doing us justice. But here is my cause of concern with this band of showers. It was going to weaken, and it's really substantially weakened. I think you're still going to see rain associated with this, but our thunderstorm potential is really trending way down. So we do still have a low risk for severe storms today. It's actually 2 shots. One that's pretty much going to be about now until noon, more so I think 9 to about noon, and then the other one is going to be about 9 p.m. to midnight. Those are the 2 main bands that we're seeing here. So just stay weather alert for those 2 time periods. Let me show you. Here is about 9 o'clock to 10 to 11. Notice how it almost disappears, so don't be surprised if you don't see too much that comes with this. But I still have a cause of concern that we're going to have some slicker roads than normal, just because whenever you have a nice dry period, it's not the best setup there. And then by the afternoon, we should have a mix of cloud and sunshine. That's the other thing. It's warm, it's humid. That's kind of the first step for a severe weather chance, but you also need a lot of instability, and we're not warm enough for that to happen. We need more sunshine to kind of pop, and we'll have the possibility of that. So that's going to up our better chance for maybe an isolated, stronger thunderstorm during the evening. Looks like to be more so over in the foothills and up around I-40, and there's also going to be a chance for scattered rain by tomorrow. So for that 7-day forecast, temperature is going to be in the mid to the upper 80s. This jumped up to 88. I actually reset some of the data, so that it's not quite the numbers. I'm going to have to readjust this. The reason why I wanted to do that, because I wanted to see what the models are picking up on our rain chances heading into next week. And they actually almost doubled for a few of these, showing about a 50-50 shot for more rain. Certainly a lot more on Monday night heading to Tuesday. That could be all having to do with what's happening for the tropics. So kind of keep that in mind. Temperatures in the mid to the upper 60s. Also, we're upping our rain chances and our thunderstorm potential for this coming Saturday. So we're going to have a lot of precursor rain as well. So if we do get any big time rain heading into next week, these are potentially our next weather alert days heading into Monday and Tuesday. There's too much that's happening. There's too much that's changed. But here, real quick, I want to take up just a little bit more of your time. And what you're dealing with right now is a meteorologist kind of going through an update for himself about seeing what models are coming through. And I want to show you two different rainfall models. Again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just me looking at the changes. Now, what we like to see is some commonality. We like to see what's called a consensus. Are they both trending in the right direction? Now, the biggest change, if you're just joining me, is that we already have Humberto. Humberto likely is going to be a major hurricane. Before, the forecast was looking like that's going to also conjoin, kind of be moving parallel what will soon be Imelda, and then they will kind of twist around each other and bend out to sea. But the most recent indications are that Imelda potentially could outrun Humberto and kind of have her own path, her own journey. Look at the futurecast rainfalls. By the way, yesterday, one of these was only showing across 6 days less than an inch of rain for Charlotte. I want to show you the changes. This is model 1, showing that we have rain in general through the weekend, but then boom, a big surge. That shows Monday heading into Tuesday, upwards to 4 to 6 inches of rain, upwards to about 10 parts of South Carolina. That's the bad change. Look at the other model. You're like, okay, well, let's see if there's any agreement here. The timing's different, but if you look at it, look at this swath. A big one up to about 5 to 9 inches in South Carolina, less here in Charlotte. Now, this is just model data. This is just me looking at it. There's a chance that the previous forecast comes true and then Imelda doesn't even really happen or gets pulled back out to sea. But I am showing you that the back end of that 7-day forecast for Monday and Tuesday is definitely changing. And with rain coming before that, that's something that we want to watch. So keep that in the back of your mind, and we got you. We're going to continue to keep you in the know. Actually, coming up here in the next few minutes, there's going to be a brand new update coming from the National Hurricane Center on Humberto and potentially what's going to be happening with Imelda. So this is now turning into a story. It was looking like we might get lucky. Things are now turning the opposite script. Now, I'm hoping the next time that things are going to happen, I'm just going to end this here, send it to break, and then we'll have another update with traffic and weather coming up with that. I'm hoping that this is going to go back the other way. But I'm just here not to scare, but to make you more aware that there are some general shifts and some general changes. Now, what needs to happen is Humberto needs to speed up. Imelda needs to calm down and not really cruise off towards the north. Because the reason why this shift has changed, because instead of Humberto controlling Imelda, it looks like it could be potentially that low, that front, that upper level low that's steering the current right along the coast, driving it here closer to home. Again, this is just model data. This is just processing. There's a good chance that this map is blank down below an inch the next time this runs over the next 3 to 6 hours. But I have to let you know in advance that this is now piquing our attention. Likely the next move by the National Hurricane Center is going to be maybe assessing it over the next hour. I'll have a new update coming up after this break. We'll see you soon. Well, good morning, everybody. We do have a shot at some rain coming up here shortly because look at this rain off towards the west. It's cruising and it's gliding right into the Charlotte area. Right now, the time is 7:56, but it does look like a little bit closer to about 9 to 10. It's going to be around the Charlotte area. So cruising in, it's weakening a little bit, but still could have a quick to heavy downpour. You see that one branch on and off showers thereafter, and then another shot later on this evening. Dew points are also on the rise. That means it's going to feel really muggy, even more so than we had the last couple of days. We aren't getting into the lower 90s today, but it will feel like it. 86, feeling like 91 by 4 p.m. Keep that in mind. I think we're drier and a little bit sunnier for the afternoon as well. Stay weather alert, though, for those 2 rounds of storms. Another update coming up in 30 minutes. But first, Majestic, what's going on for our morning commute?
Good morning. We have a lot of accidents out there this morning. That's really going to slow down those drive times. Over 1 hour if you're coming in from Salisbury, and about 52 minutes if you're coming in from Gastonia. We have a handful of wrecks. You can see it here. I do want to let you know about this, though. A lane is closed because of a crash. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard, impacting both ways at IBM Drive. So you can see all the colors starting to pop up there. This is a picture of the accident that we just received. Again, an active crash here, an injury incident, and it is impacting all directions right there. Again, this is Harris Boulevard at I-85 northbound ramp.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning on WCNC Plus at 8 o'clock. I'm Megan Bragg.
And I'm Lisa Washington. This morning, we continue to mark the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene. As that storm rolled into western North Carolina, thousands of people were faced with an impossible decision whether or not to leave their homes and belongings or get to safety.
Ben Thompson joins us again live from Boone, where we continue to hear amazing stories of survival. Ben?
That's right, Megan. You know, as these communities across the mountains, as they reflect on the past year, a lot of the survivors tell us that they are still rebuilding, expect to for quite some time, but they're also counting their blessings. Over in Avery County, we spoke to one man who believes a last-minute decision during the storm made the difference between life and death for him and for his neighbor. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Vane live down in Blowing Rock with more on their story. Richard?
Yeah, good morning to you, Ben. Good morning, Megan and Lisa. Good Thursday morning, everyone. You know, when anyone who knew how devastating Helene would be to this area would have evacuated, would have gotten out the first chance they got. People just didn't know how bad it was going to be. That's why when John Randall got a call from a neighbor saying he and another neighbor could go up to higher ground to wait out the storm, initially he was hesitant. But then he took that friend up on that offer, and he says that ultimately probably saved he and his neighbor's life. Now, as we look at the video, we can tell you it's been a year since Helene tore through the high country, causing devastation and is sending the area into a tailspin, if you will. We were able to speak with John Randall, who's from Avery County. He shared that last-minute decision was ultimately a lifesaver. He lives near Newland, and he's looking at the damage left behind by Helene. His house battered after floodwater swept through his subdivision, causing more than $100,000 in damage to his house. Other houses destroyed altogether. Flood was left behind mud and debris inside his home. Much of what was inside on the lower floors damaged or destroyed. He's one of hundreds of people in Avery County who are still dealing with the financial as well as emotional toll of last year's storm. But Randall says he feels fortunate that he and his neighbor Phyllis accepted a friend's offer to ride out the storm further up in the mountain. That choice may have ultimately spared his life. He says he's grateful to be here, even as there's painful reminders of Helene still remain.
People still, I get emotional. There was a family that was standing there, and the wife and mother got washed in, and they saw her carried away. And when I woke up Christmas morning, I was sitting on the edge of the bed and I started crying because I was thinking about the children that all these kids, wanting gifts and stuff at Christmas. They would have loved to have their mom back.
Yeah, that is a tough one that a lot of people deal with, the thoughts of those lives lost and the damage caused by Helene. Some folks still trying to rebuild, some folks still trying to get back on their feet 1 year later. We're right here in Blowing Rock. This is Richard Devane. Ben, I'll send it back to you.
And in many cases, we know a lot of these folks, their lives are never going to be the same. It's going to take more than a year or two. It might not ever happen. And we're going to continue to tell stories just like this one all week long. Right here on WCNC Charlotte and WCNC Plus, as we celebrate the 1 year, or mark the 1 year anniversary since Hurricane Helene, actually coming up this Saturday morning. Plenty more still to come here on WCNC Plus. 8:04 right now, coming up in about 10 minutes. WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morabito uncovers how the $25 million raised for Helene victims during a star-studded concert is now being spent. That's coming up in just a few minutes. Chris?
Thanks a lot, Ben. As we're talking about the anniversary of Helene, I don't like these recent changes to the forecast, and I'm hoping the next model runs that they're going to trend a different direction. But what we have been revealing here on WCNC Plus is a potential shift of a storm that's not even named. Yesterday, we officially named Tropical Storm Umberto. Before it looked like Umberto was potentially going to help us, well, it looks like Imelda, which will soon likely start to form over the next couple of days, might have a path of her own, and it would affect the Carolinas or the southeastern United States. A lot can still change. This is just processing some of the data. But one thing that has changed, the 8 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center, we now have a 70% chance for development for this to happen over the next couple of days. 90% chance it'll likely happen in the next 2 to 4. I want to read you exactly what the National Hurricane Center has put for a tag for this. It's saying a tropical wave is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms, gusty winds, right along the Dominican Republic and the Turks and Caicos. An area low pressure is expected to form along the wave tonight, early Friday, when it moves near the southeast Bahamas. This low is expected to become a tropical depression when it's in the vicinity of the central and northwest Bahamas in the next couple of days, which, by the way, the northwest Bahamas would trend this a little bit close to the United States. Interests of the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos Islands, and the Bahamas should monitor the progress of this system as heavy rains and gusty winds are likely across that region. Here's the point I really want to bring up here. Interests also along the coast of the southeastern United States should also monitor the progress of this system. We weren't looking at any indications, I would say, even 12 hours ago. It looked like it might have been a close call, but it was going to pull back, maybe a rough sea. But now things are trending that, for one, Imelda is going to form ahead of schedule. That's the big deal here, because with this storm forming on its own, getting caught up in a quicker moving pattern, it's not going to be really influenced by Humberto enough. But the problem is, if it makes landfall and then Humberto gets close enough, it could actually pull it back, which would keep it here in the Carolinas longer. And I'm not here to scare, make you more aware. This is also something that I would not normally do. I would process the data, I would have a formal report, and we would tell you in the show. I don't have the option of that because we're streaming right now, which is also an advantage because you can see exactly what I'm looking at. This is a graphic that Brittany made last night, and I haven't changed it at all because this was the previous pattern, and this is going to be a big deal here because likely Imelda. For one, the steering currents, this is really how we decipher where these storm systems are going to go. We have had a big old Bermuda high. These are the arrows that you drew earlier. Well, actually, you can trend them a little bit further south now. Just follow these streamlines here, but then Imelda was likely going to form here, and notice this little area that's starting to move its way to the north. Well, now it's showing Monday into Tuesday all agreements, and the reason why it's steering more towards the United States is because it's going to be getting caught up in that current in general. So that is the biggest change there. I'm going to have a deeper dive into it all, but we are definitely looking at a better chance for that. I'm also here to give you your local forecast as well, what's happening in the near term. And the nearest term and the biggest issue I'm really seeing for today is the potential for some heavier rain. And since it hasn't rained in 17 days, I think we could have more incidents for the late day. It's not even raining, and Majestic has a busy map, so I'm just saying. And also, it's between about 9 and 10 to about 11 o'clock that we're going to push this little system in. But the good news is a lot of it's going to fade out. If we get a little bit of sunshine, that'll destabilize things, but it could allow for a few showers and storms during the afternoon, so keep that in mind. The the Storm Prediction Center, I'm switching pages here, does have us under a low risk for severe storms, but I'm letting you know it's pretty weak. I think the best is really going to be a better chance for rain. And speaking of, it looks like we could have a low end risk for excessive rain for your Friday, Saturday, also heading through the weekend, and that could be even higher heading into next week, depending on what's happening. So again, just processing what's going on. There's still a lot happening, but the National Hurricane Center has now piqued their attention for what potentially could be Imelda, so keep that in mind. I'm going to have a full look. Everything I'm looking at, the potential best case scenarios, worst case scenarios, the timing coming up. But first, Majestic has a lot to get to for your morning commute.
It's very busy outside. We have a lot of delays. It's 8:09, so definitely people are heading out the door and starting their day. We have a handful of accidents, unfortunately, to let you know about, but I do want to take you out to I-85 because this is going to be really my main watch spot right now. We have a lane that's closed because of a crash on W.T. Harris Boulevard, both ways at IBM Drive. That's at one off to the left, but this one here is a newer one now popping up on my maps. We've been talking about it now for at least the last 10 to 15 minutes, where 3 lanes are now blocked because of a crash. This is on W.T. Harris Boulevard westbound at I-85, exits 45A, 45B. Again, here's a picture that just came in from that specific area right here, so you can see multiple cars are involved. We have emergency responders there on scene. It is an injury incident right here, and it is causing delays in all directions. This is the most important thing that you're going to need to know as you're heading out the door. We'll have another check on roads coming up here shortly. Megan.
Thanks, Majestic. Breaking this morning, police are now searching for the person who shot a medic ambulance just hours ago. Medic says it happened while they were transporting a patient near Davidson and Trade Street. That's in Uptown. Known was her, and the patient made it to the hospital for unrelated illness. Right now, no word yet on who shot the unit or if police have any suspects.
Coming up, controversial concert. We take a closer look at money from a Helene benefit concert, how that money is being spent. We're back in 2 minutes.
Live 8:12 right now on WCNC Plus. And here in Boone, we're marking 1 year since Hurricane Helene. And you probably remember a star-studded concert in Charlotte that promised to support Hurricane Helene relief efforts. But in the 11 months since the concert for Carolina, we've learned country music superstar Eric Church has had to alter plans for how he's going to spend the millions of dollars raised that night. WCNC Charlotte's Nate Morabito found out the majority of the families who will benefit from Church's nonprofit are not hurricane victims.
What started with the best of intentions has evolved into something different. Of the roughly 40 homes that will make up the new neighborhood in Newland, only 9 will go to families displaced by Helene. The rest will go to people considered pillars of the community. Eric Church, through his manager, told us that doesn't make it any less of a success. His music raised money. His words offered comfort.
The most powerful thing we have here is hope.
His actions sparked change.
We are attempting something that has never been done, but it has the potential to affect the lives of so many.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, Eric Church made it known. He wanted to ensure the disaster didn't force people out of a place he loves.
Keeping communities together in a situation like this is our most important mission.
The country singer's manager says that's still the goal. It just looks different.
We're hoping it's all positive.
John Peets tells us Church's nonprofit, Chief Cares, used $12 million from the Concert for Carolina to help create housing development Blue Haven. We're told 110 Helene survivors originally applied for the new homes. However, during the process, the nonprofit learned some victims didn't want to leave their land and move into a new neighborhood. Others didn't want to go through a background check. And some had already found alternate housing solutions, leaving 22 viable candidates, 9 of whom made it to the finish line. But Pete says all 22 received meaningful support.
We did take care of every single one of them in one way or the other.
The 9 displaced families should be able to move in by Thanksgiving.
It's very moving. It's changing their lives.
Another 30 or so, described as long-standing integral members of the community, will eventually move in later.
For the people that went to the Concert for Carolina, the website says all proceeds go to hurricane relief. What would you say to those people who might say, that's not exactly what I thought the money was going to be used for?
An entire community is affected. And it is very hard to cast any judgment on the nuance of that, especially if you spent any time on the ground. Everybody was affected. And so I think finding a lane of serving that community in a positive way and all that money is going towards rebuilding that community and keeping people in that community is what we said and what we're doing. It's not lost on me. It's a lot of money. It's from people who expected the job to be done. And I think we are doing it to the best of our ability. And I think that will show up in the stories, and I think it'll show up in the results.
Chief Cares plans on unveiling the first 2 finished homes Friday in Newland and expects to move forward with similar projects in Yancey and Mitchell counties. Church has said he expects to give away 200 homes across western North Carolina when all is said and done. Nate Morabito, WCNC Charlotte.
And this morning, more money is on the way for disaster recovery here in the Carolinas. FEMA's announcing more than $12 million in new grant money. That includes $1.6 million here for North Carolina, and down in South Carolina, it comes out to about $1.3 million. Keep it right here. Chris has his hands full with your weather impact forecast right after the break.
Oh, what a difference a day makes. That's one of the biggest sayings that comes from the weather world. Well, yesterday officially we formed Tropical Storm Umberto. Now, Umberto is still going to become a very powerful storm. We're talking about major hurricane status. Right now, it's just dealing with a little bit of wind shear, and I think it'll be in a better environment a couple of days from now. Now, the one other thing that we're really keeping an eye on is this big old wave that is right around Haiti and then about to push into the Turks and Caicos. And now the newest update from the National Hurricane Center, as I was mentioning, is a 70% chance for development over the next 2 days. I was showing this graphic a lot yesterday, and this morning I kind of ditched it because one model decided, oh, actually, I'm going to steer what this is soon to be Imelda into the Carolinas. And I was like, well, that's an anomaly. That's not in agreement. Well, now both are kind of agreeing on this. So check it out. You see a potential landfall, dissipates, and that would bring us about Monday into Tuesday. So there's still a lot of question marks here. And then eventually you have Umberto that curves out to sea. So that's one thing that we do know. Now, once we get to the weekend, I am seeing one good sign that some wind shear is going to start to increase. So we can get some wind shear to break up the development here. So it's not an absolute clear path. It's actually terrible conditions, as this potentially could try to aim its sights at the Carolinas. But this isn't an end game whatsoever. This is just the first agreement I've seen, and it's not one that I like. But there's a good chance that when Brittany and Brad are up here, when we're streaming, that what I was saying earlier, I was like, oh man, Chris freaked out for nothing. The only advantage that we have here streaming is I wanted to show you the newest change. And I first got in around 2:30 this morning. I had one of these lines that moved into the Carolinas. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 moving into South Carolina, and then a few outliers in North Carolina. But a lot of them are still curving back out to sea. So I'm not saying that this is absolutely going to happen. I'm just saying that things are trending that direction, where certain models like the American model and that even have a landfalling tropical storm Monday heading into Tuesday. So again, a lot is going to change here. Now, one thing that I would be most concerned about is if we get the low to make landfall, we would be talking about a flooding situation. Now, these models are all over the place still. They finally just, at the start of the 8 o'clock hour, just started to conjoin and have some agreement, but some of them are showing an epic amount of rain. This one has up to 5 to 7 inches of rain in our area. This other one here, that was, by the way, showing less than an inch across the next 7 days, is now showing anywhere from 3 inches closer to home, but then upwards to 8 inches along the shoreline. There's still so many things that are going to change here. I just thought that it would be best to kind of show you where things are evolving for the time being, but it's all going to be this general wave. You can see that here in our futurecast wind gusts, it starts to become a little bit more organized. There you can see the defined center. So this is the first time that we're really actually seeing the site of what will be Imelda becoming a lot more organized. So this is Sunday, by the way, heading into the Bahamas. But the problem that I'm also seeing is a lot of models are now starting to agree that instead of heading to the due north, it's actually moving in the northwestern side of the Bahamas. That's literally what the verbiage said for that 70 to 90% chance of this turning into a tropical storm over the coming days. And what that simply means is this is getting close to the United States. There's also a chance that Umberto speeds up and then ends up taking things out. But Umberto is actually slowing down, and there's signs that what will be Imelda is speeding up. I don't like that. And also just letting you know, this is all just hearsay for what I'm seeing from my years of experience. When you get one of these, when you get the eye wall, it's likely a hurricane. So there's still a lot that can unfold here. I liked it better when it looked like these two were going to do the Fujiwara and head out to sea, which is still a possibility. That's not ditched. However, if I were to pick my 3 top long-range models that I use for this, 2 out of the 3 are now calling for a potential major impact here in the Carolinas. A lot is still going to change, but I owe it to you just to kind of show you as this evolves. Now, I hope that this was for nothing. I hope that I wasted a bunch of breath on just a big woulda, coulda, shoulda possibility, but there is a growing possibility, and whenever there start to be some sort of agreement for these, that's usually things start to trend. So over the next 24 hours from the National Hurricane Center, the last thing that you want is a PTC. That would be a potential tropical cyclone, and they issue one of those if they're really confident that before it potentially could become a tropical storm, they want to start alerting people. That's what happened with Helene. So that would be the worst case scenario. Best case scenario, Umberto speeds up and this gets pulled back out to sea. The top of the next half hour, I'll have a full update on what you can expect here locally close to home. I'm done closing the tropical book for the time being. Let's get over to Majestic.
Good morning, everyone. Let's give you some updates on what you need to be ready for as you're heading out the door this morning. Still very carefully watching I-85 right here because we have some major delays. 3 lanes are still blocked because of a crash. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard at I-85, exits 45A, 45B. So again, major impacts. Here's a picture of what's going on right here. This is an active crash, an injury incident. 1 person with serious injuries sent to the hospital, and we're seeing those delays coming in all directions. In addition to that, I want to take you to I-77. We're seeing a lot of red. We typically see that this time of the day. 824. However, 1 lane is blocked because of a crash. It's on I-77 northbound at exits 9B to get onto 277. So keep this one in mind as well, as a lot of red is continuing to build. We're going to take a quick break. We'll have another check on roads and weather coming up here in just a few.
Well, good morning, everybody. Rain is on the way, but the good news is a lot of this is weakening, so we will have a chance for a few isolated rain showers. Already starting to see it pushing into Gaston County. Thicker clouds as well. Not a lot of instability here, but there's a chance that this pushes through between about 9 and noon. And the most recent run has shown this is going to fade out. So there's a good chance that if you live east of I-77, you barely see anything from this. And then we'll pick up a little bit more sunshine for the afternoon. Still, I think clouds winning out overall. And then we'll pick up an isolated storm chance heading into the evening. So we do have a low risk for a stronger thunderstorm, but that honestly looks like it's trending down. However, you do have the storm fuel. Today is going to be one of the more muggy days that we have. Temperatures getting in the mid to the upper 80s, but still going to have a real feel like the lower 90s, even though they're not reaching that on the thermometer. Rain chance continue to increase. Saturday looking to be the most likely. Temperatures much cooler in the mid to the upper 70s, even cooler with better rain chances into next week. Majestic, take it away.
It's a busy start to the day. Lots of accidents out on those area roadways, unfortunately. Still really following this one very carefully for you. It's on I-85. 3 lanes are going to be blocked because of a crash on I-85 exits 45A. So basically the ramp to get there. We're following a lot of backups there. You can see this is a picture of it. Harris Boulevard at I-85 northbound ramp. It is an injury incident. 1 person sent to the hospital with serious injuries. So make sure you're really taking it easy or allow for extra drive time to get to where you need to be. I-77 also seeing delays at exit 9B for those northbound lanes.
are streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8:30 on this Thursday morning. I'm Lisa Washington.
And I'm Megan Bragg. 1 year after Helene, and many cities and towns in western North Carolina are still trying to recover. Ben Thompson is live in Boone with an update on the town of Baxter, where the storm did damage to a major medical supply plant.
Yeah, Megan, that's right. It's the Baxter International plant near the town of Marion. And it's the leading supplier of IV fluid bags in the entire country. A lot of folks don't even know it's there. But when Helene hit the Baxter plant near Marion, production was brought to a standstill. There's nothing they could do. They were covered in mud. So it created a real crisis as surgeries across the country were postponed. That's when those Baxter workers jumped into action, even as they had to deal with their own personal tragedies. Tucked away in the mountains of McDowell County, just north of Marion, a sprawling 1.4 million square foot medical supplies plant in the community of North Cove.
I am a filling operator. I make IV bags.
Bernice Hensley is a 30-year veteran of the Baxter plant. The plant and its 2,500 employees produce 60% of all IV fluid bags made in the U.S.
I have a lot of pride in what I do because every bag that we make can potentially save a life or it helps someone who's sick.
When Hurricane Helene hit, that mission was threatened.
They're calling it a 1,000-year storm.
A levee upstream failed, sending the Catawba River rushing into the plant. Video shows that within a few minutes, the floor was covered in several inches of water.
Really quickly, we were able to see that this wasn't just a minor interruption or a power outage.
A plant that produced sterile medical supplies for 5 decades was covered in mud. Production stopped, surgeries were delayed all across the country. But for Baxter workers, the real crisis was unfolding at home.
Not having Melissa here has been devastating.
Bernice's daughter, Melissa, was caught in a landslide inside her home. The mountainside gave way, washing the home into the creek below. Footage from family shows where that house once stood. Melissa's husband and 4 kids managed to get to safety. Melissa's body was discovered 4 days later.
This anniversary is going to be very difficult, very hard. It's left her not being here's left a big gap in our life.
A year that's been filled with tremendous grief and defiant growth. Within a month, IV fluid bags were coming off assembly lines at Baxter, shipping to hospitals across the country.
By 5 months, all the production lines were at 100% pre-hurricane levels.
And the work isn't over. A bridge to the plant that was washed away is being rebuilt. Inside, production lines are still reopening every week. All thanks to workers like Bernice, who put aside their own tragedies to focus on helping others.
You knew that people needed our product, so you really wanted to get back to work.
Just sort of a button up to that story is the folks at Baxter expect to have everything back to normal there at the plant in the beginning of the new year. So good news there, and kudos to them for their dedication to an important job there. All right, folks, keep it right here. All week long, we're going to have the very latest here on WCNC Plus about the anniversary as we mark the 1 year mark of Hurricane Helene. Now let's turn back to Chris Mulcahy. He is tracking a number of fluid situations out in the Atlantic.
Yeah, Ben, it's all over the place, and I'm jumping all over the place for you. I think you deserve to know what's happening right now, and this includes you, Ben, that rain is now actively moving back in. You might already see it at this point, so that's going to be more light to moderate rain showers that are with you for the time being. So Monday and Tuesday were definitely the better days up in the mountains, and now we're starting to see a little bit more rain also starting to push its way a little bit closer into the area as well. So that could be on and off rain, I would really say mid to late morning after 9 and before noon. So we have been calling for a chance for thunderstorms with isolated, stronger thunderstorm alert. I honestly don't think that comes to fruition. This is dying out. It's heading the wrong direction, and there's a chance for a heavier downpour. And we were weather alert because the Storm Prediction Center called for a low chance for a severe storm. I think that's even lower than it was earlier, to be honest with you. And then between about 9 and midnight, that's where you're going to have a second chance for a few isolated rain showers. So just kind of keep that in mind. 73 degrees right now. We're actually seeing sunshine over in the Monroe area. That's what we need. We need more sunshine to interact with some of this activity to really make all the difference. And if you look really closely at that Boone camera to the right, you are actually seeing that rain that we were just looking at. So some pieces of that green are now developing the map. Rock Hill's taking the day off, so enjoy the day as far as any temperature readings. 68 degrees around Hickory. That cloud cover has really helped insulate us to start off the day. Now, our rainfall chance is going to be all over the place over the next few days, but what we see in the back end is going to be all driven by whatever happens out in the tropics. So real quick, I'm going to show you our future cast, what you can expect over the next several hours. So here's what it looks like. Let's actually go through the next couple of days. Here's that little band of rain that you're just looking at. It was showing really any time between about now to about noon. It pushes through, but notice how it disappears. This is what I'm talking about. It's actively been weakening over the last couple of hours. We will see a little more sunshine break up, at times more clouds and sun, at times more sun than clouds. More clouds start to move back in, and our storm chances will really be anywhere from late afternoon heading through the evening. Again, this is very minimal. By tomorrow, I think we're going to see some on and off rain showers, but then I think our best chance for rain in the near term, Saturday. Saturday, we have pulses of rain, on and off. I think you see some rain in the morning, we take a break. A little more rain late morning heading in the afternoon, and then we take a break, even seeing a little bit of sunshine from place to place, and then you're going to see another round of rain. Now let's get to the tropics. Boy, has this been an evolving situation. Again, we're streaming here. Normally, I would look at all this stuff and I'd be like, oh man, I'm not sure if I should say this. This looks really serious. But everything is really trending, and I'm going to be honest with you, a bad direction. And it's not because of Tropical Storm Umberto. It's whatever's happening with this other system that doesn't even have a name. So first off, Tropical Storm Umberto is going to push its way off towards the northwest. And it looks like by about Monday into Tuesday, it'll be almost perpendicular by Tuesday to the Carolinas, but at that point is likely going to be a major hurricane. Yesterday, we were talking about great news that Umberto was going to move in, Imelda was behind it, and then Umberto was going to be stronger and was going to take Imelda with it. We are not looking at that case and scenario. Now, the worst situation would be is if Imelda, which by the way hasn't been named, it's right now called 94L, if that continues to move faster, develop faster, and that's exactly what we're seeing, that's the worst case scenario, and we are actively seeing it. So the newest update right here from the National Hurricane Center is that it has winds at 30 miles per hour. So even if it gets its center of circulation, which it won't in the immediate near term, just because it's directly over the Dominican Republic. It needs to get into open waters. Once it gets close to the Turks and Caicos, I'd say over the next couple of days, this could become a tropical depression or tropical storm Imelda. Once it gets closer to the Bahamas, that's where I have my cause of concern. So what you're seeing here are the spaghetti plots. So instead of Umberto helping us, it actually kind of is hindering us. It's right behind us, but we also have a driving support from what's called an upper level low that's actually allowing for things to move faster along the shoreline. That's why Imelda is now starting to take the lead here. So this brings us to Sunday at 6 p.m. The closer these are together, the more consistent, more confident we are. The further apart, well, it's maddening as a meteorologist. And notice how everything gets all scribbly here. But I really want to focus in on is what potentially Imelda is going to do here in the latter term. So hold on. Let me bring up this wind shear graphic that I was working on. This shows a little bit better look at exactly what Imelda is eventually going to do. And I'm just going to call her Imelda because that's going to happen over the next couple of days. So this is just looking at some of the spaghetti plots for just this storm. By about midnight on Sunday heading into Monday, the only saving grace that I'm really seeing here is that area of red is wind shear. Wind shear is the change of wind speed and direction with height. That cuts into the development of a storm. But oftentimes, if, say, this is a hurricane, it's already really strong, that's not going to do too much. And this isn't the nicest graphic that I've ever shown you, but I literally took this from a website called tropicaltidbits.com to give you a better, clear picture. The image on the right, what this is an actual model, and here, let me bring this forward, that is showing a potential graph with all those spaghetti plots about how strong this storm can be. By the way, yesterday, it stayed in the green. Today, we're actually showing the upper threshold, this potentially becoming a major hurricane. The middle threshold, the median line, about this being a borderline category 1. But since we've now upgraded that before this is even a storm, this is just Invest 94L, this has now piqued the attention of the National Hurricane Center, and boy did it pique my attention about an hour and a half ago. And we still have a chance that this is nothing, that this could still be a stronger storm, but it pulls out to sea. Because if you look a little bit closer, and let me pull this back, this image right here is representing that it's about almost a half-half split. Before it was one anomaly, maybe two, but there's still a good chance that a lot of these lines could lead Imelda, which will be Imelda, again, back out to sea. So there's still a lot of things that can happen, but things are trending towards a direction that we could potentially have some significant impacts here from this storm. I want to show you some of the rainfall, and I don't like this. I usually do not like showing totals like this way too early. You're just going through my process. That's what we have here. May you like it or not. I'm not being an alarmist. This is literally what I would go through, and this is when you start seeing an agreement that I don't like. This is showing, and I believe this is the European model. This is the one that first this morning said, hey, there's going to be a landfall in the Carolinas. I was like, all right, Euro, you were the one that I trusted. Well, when the GFS, the one that was showing less than an inch of rain, all of a sudden started doing this, that's where I really was concerned, that we could see up to about 3 inches of rain, close to about that 8-inch mark. And again, there's still so much can change. I think the biggest deal here is just going to be wherever the jet stream is going to set up. But as of right now, it does have things starting to drive in. There's a lot of different outside sources. There's a lot of things that can still change. But if Imelda, or this wave, Invest 94L as we'll call it now, is moving faster and Umberto is moving slower, that's not what I like to see. I hope that it changes. I don't want this to be the case and scenario, because then we're talking about big time rain, flooding, potential hurricane here in the Carolinas. So a lot can change. Lisa, I believe you have a question for me?
I do have a question for you, because I've been listening intently to this, Chris. Okay, so you're saying that depending on the wind shear, that could change it, as well as what happens with Umberto. Question for you is, what about the system that's already, I guess maybe in the Midwest or kind of the Southeast? That system was moving east. Wouldn't that also potentially affect what could happen here?
Yeah, and let me get off camera, because I want to bring that up as well, because that's actually a really good question. Because before, when I was showing the surface map, I honestly didn't build it because there was such a disagreement of the models. I'm like, man, I'm just going to focus in on our rain today. I don't really want to go past that. So what you're actually seeing is the rain that we're actually seeing now, more so, where we're seeing that circulation. It's that upper level low that's stalled out along the coast. But as these systems are starting to push up, Lisa, what it's actually doing is it's stalling things out, and we're starting to get that flow. Let me show you the steering currents again. Let me stall it right there. All right, so what you're looking at here is physically, here, let me rewind it. I can draw it on here with my jet stream. You are seeing actually the physical jet stream stooping down and going like this. This is technically more of a blocking situation. So that means that this storm that is right down here is going to get caught up in this. So what's actually happening further off towards the west isn't so much. It's the front that's moving through over the next couple of days, and the general push of the jet stream that's leading to this. You also have this big flow out here. That's the Bermuda High. That's what's potentially going to be catching Umberto, but then you have things in between. So did that answer the question in general?
That did, yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So, and that's also what I don't like about what I'm showing you here. There are 3 major models, you don't need to know their names, that I look at for more long-range forecasting. But when they start showing similarities, as I mentioned, or a consensus as it's called, that's where at least is starting to, I wouldn't say garner hype or a big concern, but it is, because look at that. And what you know, and you just know basic meteorology, the more circles that you're seeing here, the stronger the winds. So this one model example is showing 7 p.m. on Monday, potential landfall somewhere in South Carolina. That's actually closer to the Myrtle Beach area. And then meanwhile, this other one that I'm showing you has very similar rings. Likely that would be close to category 1 here, just kind of do perspective. But you bring a lot of rain, that's on Tuesday morning. So now, for the first time, you had 2 completely different scenarios. Now you're having 2 models that aren't always trustworthy, but some of them do, just depending on the atmospheric conditions. This is the worst case scenario that we're actually seeing here, because what happens is that low sits and kind of spins around South Carolina for a couple of days before turning back out to sea. So bringing it up again, this is the early development of anything. This is kind of the first time I can really say in my career, but I also wasn't streaming this much early in my career, that real live time I'm processing an epic change in the forecast like this, and it's just crazy. I really hope that it completely pulls out, but just letting you know what has really come to fruition over the last 12 hours keeps trending, I will say, in the direction I don't want it to, Lisa.
All right, Chris, thanks so much for that. We know that you will continue to track this for us and bring us updates as you get them here at WCNC on Charlotte and as well as WCNC Plus, our streaming platform. All right, we need to get things over to Majestic now to find out more about the situation on the roads.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get to it. I want to walk you through a few quick things. This is I-85 here where traffic is flowing all right. That's at Statesville Ave. Our drive times are pretty much where they should be for this time of the day. 38 minutes if you're coming in from Gastonia, just over 50 if you're coming in from Salisbury. Of course, we have our typical delays, but we're still following this crash right here. It's on I-85. So basically, it's the ramp to get on to I-85. 3 lanes blocked because of a crash. W.T. Harris Boulevard at I-85, so exit 45A. Again, here's the picture. We know that this is an injury incident. There was at least one person sent to the hospital because of serious injuries, but there are delays in all directions. In addition to that one, I want to take you right here because this is going to be something that may actually impact your morning commute as well. 1 lane blocked because of a crash. I-77 northbound at exit 9B. So we're seeing a lot of delays there. And this still is not cleared. Another lane is blocked because a tree fell earlier this morning. I-85 southbound exit 20. That's New Hope Road. You can still get through it. It's just going to take you a little bit longer. So make sure you plan accordingly. We're going to take a quick break. We'll see you right back here in just a couple minutes.
Happening today in Mecklenburg County, District 6 residents will hear about transit, taxes, and the future of growth in the county. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards joins us live this morning as one Mecklenburg County commissioner is bringing neighbors together to hear the full range of opinions on that proposed 1-cent sales tax for transportation. Destiny.
Yeah, this is going to be a hot topic for the next couple of weeks. And tonight, Southern Mecklenburg County residents, they'll get the chance to ask questions and hear, quote, the whole story about the tax referendum. And this is from varying perspectives on the issue. Now, on November 4th, Election Day, that's when Mecklenburg County voters will decide whether to raise the sales tax by 1% to fund transportation and transit projects, meaning road, rail, and bus improvements. Tonight's community meeting, hosted by Commissioner Susan Rodriguez McDowell, will feature a presentation from CATS and a panel of community stakeholders with different views. While supporters of the tax increase are stressing the importance of investing in the growth of the county, opposers want to pump the brakes. Rodriguez McDowell herself has been critical of the plan and voted against it in August, saying it puts too much of the cost burden on local taxpayers.
This represents a huge shift away from federal and state funding and pushes the cost onto the backs of people like you and me, 70% of which are living paycheck to paycheck. This is part of a larger pattern that we are seeing at our state and federal level, and my constituents are not okay with it.
If you'd like to attend, the First District 6 community meeting is tonight from 6 to 7:45 at the Christ the King Church in Charlotte. And then the second community meeting is set for October 9th at the same time at Matthews Town Hall. And now between this and also the new Transportation Authority, definitely a lot that commissioners are going to be involved in, and a lot of opportunities may be coming up to learn more about this tax referendum. We'll keep covering it, and you can find out more information about these meetings that are on the books right now on the WCNC Charlotte News app. Live this morning in South Charlotte, I'm Destiny Richards, WCNC Charlotte.
All right, Destiny, thank you so much for that. Of course, we will continue to follow this one.
And we'll be right back. Time now, 8:53. Trending this morning, America's Got Talent crowns a new winner. Last night, Jessica Sanchez won season 20 of AGT.
Now, you may remember she first appeared on the show 20 years ago on the first season of AGT, making it to the semifinals at just 10 years old before she was eliminated. This time, she was able to sing her way to victory with a new bundle of joy on the way.
What you got there?
I just won AGT season 20.
Oh my gosh, look
this
at
is
that.
It's just a dream come true. It really is.
It is.
Yeah.
You're gonna cry.
We're all
She's
gonna
gonna
cry. I'm really trying not to cry because then it'll just be like nonstop. So I'm like, contain myself. I'm just so overwhelmed. This has been 20 years of just battling, you know, trying to break through in the music industry, and you know, I got this opportunity to do this 9 months pregnant, and it's just been such a huge blessing. I haven't really thought about, like, if I was to win, what I would do with the money. It was more of like a purpose thing for me, like, you know, coming back 20 years later and kind of seeing what God had for me in this moment, and seeing if this was my time. And man, I believed. I had like a little seed of faith, but I can't believe that I'm standing here right now saying that I'm AGT season 20 winner. It's crazy.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah, that's awesome, especially so many years later. Sanchez gets to take home $1 million for winning, and you can hear from her in about an hour. She talks live in our Live Impact News.
I'm going to be listening in. I
Yes,
can't wait to hear that.
very
so
cool.
happy for her.
Yeah.
All right, well, we need to take a break, but you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on weather and traffic. A busy morning for both Chris and Majestic as they are tracking both what's happening in your morning commute. Majestic has a look at that, and Chris, of course, is tracking the tropics. Then at 9 o'clock, our own Jane Monreal takes over from our Live Impact News studio. Live breaking news events as they happen, including that interview with the season 20 winner of AGT. Stay with us right here on WCNC Plus.
Good morning, everybody. We have some active rain now pushing back into the mountains. Much heavier earlier this morning, but this will continue to push this way pretty much right along the I-85 corridor. We still weather alert for today. Still chance for a strong thunderstorm and some heavy rain. I think could lead to some additional incidents by the conclusion of this morning. Keep that in mind. Then we start to dry out for the afternoon before we have another round about mid to late evening leading up to midnight. Tonight, temperatures right around 70 degrees. Tomorrow, 81. Temperatures getting cooler into the weekend. By the way, a likely chance for rain on Saturday and an increasing chance for rain heading into the beginning of next week. Majestic, take it away.
All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get to it. Still looking at a lot of delays this morning. I-85 right here. We're following a couple of things. This one right here, though, is on W.T. Harris Boulevard. We're seeing a lane that's closed because of a crash there, where we're looking at IBM Drive as well. Just to the east, the ramp to get onto I-85, 3 lanes are currently blocked because of a crash. There's a picture of it right there. Harris Boulevard at I-85 northbound lanes. We're seeing impacts all around.